Hey, what's up, water cooler? I'm Tristin Linville, joined by my co-host, Michael Callahan. You are here for episode 2 of Water Cooler Talks on manufacturing and technology. Michael, how are you?
Tristan, I'm great. I asked you the question earlier. Like, I wonder what episode 2 is going to be like.
Yeah,
Episode 1 was fun. What's episode 2 going to be like?
I
I don't know,
mean, I,
but it's a
I
great
think
day.
I think I'm lying to our audience because I think I said we'd bring a guest, but I am the guest today because you're going to be interviewing me.
Yeah, and who knows? I may have a 2-year-old walk in the back of my door here in a little bit, and
Mm.
she could be our guest, right?
Perfect.
So we're
She's
not.
welcome to join.
We don't have to lie. I can do it. We just you say when to do it. Hey Tristan, I have a
Oh
question
man.
for you.
Yep, hit me.
What's the best way to talk to a giant?
I don't know. Tell me.
You use big words.
Oh gosh.
And that's a dad joke that actually made my 2-year-old laugh, but maybe not you. So
No,
we'll work on those.
I like that one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's get into some fun. So Tristan, you're our special guest today. So
Yep.
welcome, Tristin Linville. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes. Glad to
Looking
be
forward
here.
to the goal today is to hear a little bit about you. Right?
Okay.
We talked about each other last time a little bit, right?
Sure.
You're Rocket Man. So we're going to learn a little bit about Rocket Man. Rocket Man, tell me about your education.
Yeah. I went to Florida State for undergrad. I actually, go Knowles, baby. I finished up my undergrad in applied mathematics, and I had a secondary major in sport management to pad the GPA.
Dude, you know what? We're going to get into that a little bit later. What's the difference in mathematics and applied mathematics?
You got those theoretical math guys popping proofs. Not me.
Okay.
I wanted to take it, see what some actual, model some actual, like flight and lift and all that stuff. So we modeled those kind of scenarios versus proofs.
I love it. It's interesting. There must be something to sports management because I also was a sports management major. So maybe what we're finding out is that sports management is the entry into technology.
Common denominator.
So far, we got 100% success rate.
Yeah. And then after undergrad, I was fortunate enough to have my grad school paid for by Florida State women's basketball. I was a manager, and then I transitioned into a grad assistantship. So basically a D1 coach in training, and I ultimately decided to not be a D1 coach, but I got my MBA, kind of a focus in supply chain there, and it was a blast.
Did you ever get to play one-on-one against any of the ladies?
Yeah, I lost.
Yeah. How'd that? I was okay. I assume so. I was hoping maybe like one victory here or there.
We should bring on. I've got this Megan Conright, and Megan, here's your shout out now. She's working at IBM now, or an IBM subsidiary, and she kicked my butt all the time.
That's fantastic. Well, we definitely need to get Megan on here to hear about the stories.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Anything else on your education?
No, I mean, at the time I had no clue what I wanted to do. And it was just a great time. Florida State, loved it, high achieving academic institution.
Love it. I hear they have really good crab legs down there.
Yep. Go Knowles.
But hey, you got to be part of a national championship, right?
Senior year, best time. It was so fun.
That's awesome, man. We'll get into some of that later on. But you talked about your first job within the FSU women's basketball as a manager. What else did you do prior to kind of moving into your career?
Yeah. Also in college, one summer, I spent my time as a server at a Bubba Gump shrimping company in Destin.
Nice.
And fun fact for the viewers, my first name is actually Forrest. And so I wore that name tag, and I got so many tips off of that. It was fantastic.
What is other than representing your first name at Forrest? What is one thing you learned from being a server? I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah,
like life lessons there.
honestly, I think everyone should do it.
Yeah.
It was I wouldn't trade it. I actually, if I didn't have this job and like a high end server, like at a high end steakhouse, would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
You talk to people, you learn how to talk to people of all walks of life. You learn about trying to be punctual, attention to detail.
Yeah.
You learn how to make the sweet tea when no one else wants to make it. It's really,
awesome.
I mean, yeah, it was. Oh, and Forrest Gump jokes, or trivia. I know a lot of Forrest Gump trivia.
There we go. So if anybody ever has Forrest Gump trivia, you know who to call.
That's it.
You know what's also really interesting is I think in life, like one of the most important things that we often take for granted or don't think about is like connections.
Sure.
And how many people do you come in contact with as a server with one simple question like, hey, I always want to know what people do. That's why we're sitting here talking about what did you do. So I think you can find out that you're coming into contact with really fascinating people with really cool stories. Everybody's got a good story. So
yeah.
Cool. Any other first jobs before we move into like your first career?
Probably not worth mentioning. Maybe a little lifeguard action. I mean, it was saving lives.
It beats one of my jobs in college, which was literally cleaning sunflower seeds. And we'll get into that later on.
Next episode, we're into that for sure.
It did make $10 an hour, which really helped me downtown Athens to not do a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But more to come. So talk to me about moving from FSU women's basketball manager into your first career job at Lockheed Martin.
Yeah. Lockheed was a blessing, right? I learned so much there. I don't think I was, mentally ready for it that day one, that week one. It was very serious, right? And it was in Orlando. It was a final assembly area, and I was a manufacturing planner. And we used green screen, MRP, and for the first couple of weeks, they handed me over my environment, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I couldn't make any sense of it. And finally, Maria, one of my coworkers, was like, Tristin, it's not that hard. It's supply and demand. And I was like, oh, okay. So you start looking at it, and then it starts to make sense once, you understand what's going on the screen. But obviously the user interface is not what it is today. And
very true.
That was challenging. So I feel like it was a great experience there at that Orlando site, because I kind of got those fundamentals and the basics of supply and demand, demand inputs, supply outputs, intercompany trade, which we were using POs essentially for internal intercompany trade of, material coming from different sites.
Yeah,
that was
maybe because intercompany trade, I think, living in the technology world, we probably understand it, but like, can you in 20 seconds tell someone what intercompany trade is?
Yeah. I mean, from a simple standpoint, I was running a final assembly line, right? And planning the sub-assemblies to feed the final assembly. You would get a site down the road, like an hour away in Ocala, that was feeding another sub-assembly for that final assembly line. And so basically they were treated as a supplier, even though it's the same company, same enterprise, and you would have like a PO relationship there. And that's a little different in today's modern technology and ERP, but that's essentially what was going on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Now I have to ask, because I used to also be on a green screen. Ours was actually blue or whatever color you really wanted it to be. But did y'all have a PF4 button?
Oh man, the F keys were.
I just always remember, like, if you get lost, you just keep hitting the PF4 button. Eventually, you'll get back to the place that you know.
think it
Fun
was
times.
F8. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. All right. Anyways, fun times. I honestly, those systems did a lot of good for the purpose that they served, but I think we all agree that they became outdated for many reasons. I think we'll touch on
Yeah.
here a little bit. So
Yeah. And then I transitioned after that out of Orlando to Texas. And in Texas, they were using SAP. Same company, same enterprise, and kind of a two-headed dog. And they were using SAP, so I learned SAP much better
yeah,
than what I was going from green screen. And then I was doing planning, and then they were like, hey, we're going to do this go live project. And since you speak both languages, know both systems, can you serve as go live support and trainer? And I was like, absolutely, like happy to do it. Don't think I knew what I was getting myself into, but we did it. So we went live, January, right after I got married. So they were like, hey, you should be here for 2 weeks. And if you're here longer than that, things aren't good. I was there for 4 months. So
things were going fantastic.
Yeah. But honestly, those 90-hour, work weeks of getting to really dive in and see how the different systems, kind of their manufacturing, it was like a light MES, if you will, their manufacturing execution system, more of like shop floor execution. But just seeing how those things interacted and the systems talked to each other or did not talk to each other, and then getting to come back to the analysts and be like, hey, we really need to fix this bug because we're going to shut down the line. And in defense manufacturing at high volumes, that at the site that I was at, like shutting down the line that's not an option. So you really
a couple of hundreds of dollars or thousands or millions of dollars.
Probably thousands.
The hundreds was a joking exaggeration, but I think it was a bad one.
Yeah. So once that kind of smoothed over and I was done with my go live support, I transitioned back to Texas and I transitioned into a development program. I was a manufacturing engineer. So getting to use the ERP to write work instructions and set up routings, and also getting to work with the design engineers and their PLM, product lifecycle management, that they were utilizing just for manufacturability studies. And, sometimes designers design things. Any designers listening, close your ears, but they design things in the theoretical, and theoretical doesn't always work.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
very true. So you know what's in, and you said something earlier that I thought was really interesting, and it was kind of this full perspective of the integration, but also why things happen within the system. And for those listening, I think that's one of the most important things that you can ever do in an ERP is to understand why the system does things the way the system does things, because it's really important. And it's really important, especially when we talk about supply and demand and material resource planning or MRP running. It's like, why is it giving me this quantity for this date? Once you start understanding that, you can really maximize your utilization of a system. And so I think just you sharing that kind of opened my thought bubble into like that end-to-end visibility.
Sure.
So, so out of all your jobs, right? You worked at Lockheed, then you kind of moved into the technology world. Can you talk about one or two technology challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I think the green screen was tough, right? Because oftentimes you'd have inventory visibility issues. You would have lost parts. I mean, I can think of one. It was a $10,000 lens, and I don't know if I lost it or if somebody else lost it ahead of me and I just inherited that. But looking for something like that from a system that's not tracking kind of movements and locations well of this hardware and expensive hardware, we never found it. And then you're really trying to put a bunch of different reports together around those movements. So it was very disjointed. Nowadays, it can still be a challenge if your system's not implemented correctly to track movement of hardware, clock those different locations and so forth. But it's a lot more, the ease of processing today for that greater visibility is come a long ways. So maybe I would have found that lens.
Yeah. Fun story. I used to do some warehousing work, and we used to have paper pick lists. Mm-hmm. And along those lines, when we would have an issue, right? We'd have a customer call, or we'd go pick something and that part wasn't there. Greg Gazzardo, the master of our blue, green screen, whatever you want to call it, DMS system, would come back and literally grab out the stack of papers from that day, and he would sift through for like days trying to find out. And if your initial was on that piece of paper,
buddy.
And so it was always like this hope of like when he finds it, like, gosh, please don't have MC on there. And then when MC was on there, I'm like, that wasn't my check mark. It definitely wasn't me. But fun time. And it is a good point, though.
Another challenge that I thought was kind of mind blowing for me was when I got into the manufacturing engineering role and the PLM and the relationship with the ERP. There really wasn't a relationship. And we're talking about a very, very large company that has a lot of money. Yeah. And so you've got these two systems and they're not connected. They're not integrated. And so when engineering releases something, like, you have to have people transferring that downstream into the ERP to set up either those new parts or, rev it up to the latest revision. And then when there's problems going back upstream from, say, quality inspection or the floor to back upstream to engineering for those, engineering change requests, like, they have to know how to use the engineering system. So
practically speaking, right? You design something in PLM. Mm-hmm. You, let's say, in CAD, push it in the PLM, and then someone literally takes the bill of material and retypes it in.
Exactly.
That's amazing. But
it's the reality, though. I mean, for today's, and because there was an article out there around PLM, and it's kind of a difficult integration, and a lot of companies don't want to take that on. Also, engineering companies or engineering departments within companies are kind of siloed. They like their tools, they like their toys, they don't want disruption.
Yeah.
And there's some truth to that as well.
So it's kind of moving maybe to the next question, because I think it's important. We talk about green screens, we talk about ERPs, but then there's the new term that I keep seeing and hearing is like modern ERP. And I think it really helps to understand why we're talking modern ERP. So can you talk about, like, what is a modern ERP?
Yeah. And this is purely my opinion on it, but I think a modern ERP is a SaaS solution and a cloud solution where ERP is, in a lot of ways become commoditized. However, at the same time, it has to be flexible, but this is a weird term, but maybe like a flexible nucleus, right? Because, and what I mean by that is that the ERP needs to be able to touch all these different applications that a company is running, because they're going to have different applications on the perimeter outside of the ERP, because that's going to uniquely position them to run their business more efficiently.
Yeah.
But when they're disjointed and disparate applications all over the place, you're not getting that full kind of return on your investment, right? So your technology stack and your integration layer needs to be powerful enough to connect with all those, capture the data appropriately in whatever data lake that you've got set up, so that you're running your, if we're going back to nucleus, right? You're running your atom and the whole picture in a much, more connected bubble, if you will.
Yeah, I mean that helps me because again, I think it's the ability to communicate with those external systems efficiently, right? And not having to have multiple people managing that, whether it's through APIs or business object documents, however you integrate, like it has to be able to do it efficiently. And it kind of goes back to that PLM conversation, right?
Yeah.
If you have that integration, all of a sudden you don't have those multiple people taking information and literally rekeying it. Like that is the one role that we want to try to eliminate is like rekeying of information.
Yeah.
So cool. Maybe one more question and then we'll wrap up with some fun. What do you love about your current role?
Yeah, my current role, and this is probably just because I'm a manufacturing junkie, my current role is so rewarding to go out there and see the different products that various manufacturers are producing. Like that is so cool to me. The other part of it is going in there, peeling back the layer of their systematic onion and seeing what they have and seeing how we can marry the proper technology solutions to drive value for them. And I just think that creating value for other businesses, utilizing some expertise that I have, I'm not going to say that I'm all knowing. That's not even, you learn something new from each of these customers every day. But going in there, seeing their operation, assisting them, showing them the value, and I'm talking dollars and cents. Like you're going to be able to increase your top line revenue, or you're going to be able to positively impact your bottom line with, this greater operational efficiency.
Yeah.
I think that's so fun to me.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Tristin, it's been fun learning about you. I hope everybody listening thought the same thing. If not, don't watch the next one because we may be doing something similar. Just kidding. Question for you, or giving you the opportunity to really one-up me because that's important. What's your dad joke of the day?
Well, I was thinking a lot about this one, and the other day my wife asked me if I'd seen the dog bowl. And you know what I said?
No clue.
I said, I've never really seen him bowl. I've never seen him do that activity.
That's so bad.
Yeah, I know.
But it's so good because it's a good way to end. So, if your dog's bowling, call Tristin.
Well, this is episode 2 of Water Cooler Talks on manufacturing and technology. As always, hope you sat back, sipped the H2O. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Or coffee, and make it a good day.
Yeah, there's one.
Have a good day.
All right.
All right.
See you next time.